Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the meeting of the Georges River Lo- Local Planning Panel for Thursday, the 7th of May, 2026. Anthony Hudson was scheduled to chair this panel today, however, had to make his apologies. I'm getting a bit of feedback here. My name is Stephen Davies, and I will be the chair of the panel. The panel is currently streaming from the Georges River Council offices in McMahon Street, Hurstville. The panel members who make up the panel today are David Epstein, expert panel member, Greg Britton, expert panel member, and Rita Vella, being the community representative on the panel, who also has planning expertise. We are the panel who have been appointed by the Minister for Planning to determine specified development applications, including the development applications that are on the agenda today, in accordance with the requirements of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. The Georges River Local Planning Panel acknowledges the Vidigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. I'm required to advise that under the provisions of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, this meeting of the panel is being live streamed and will be made available on Council's website. In accordance with the revised meeting protocols, interested parties wishing to make representations to the panel were requested to register a summary of their interests. A total of 7 registrations were received and forwarded to the panel. The panel would review the registrations and advise the council officers they wish to hear the oral submissions from the following persons, who will be called up during the course of the meeting in order of the items as published on the council's website. The first speaker for Hampton Court Road will be Leisha Pryor. Number 2 for Mona Street, Alawa, Regina Hartley, Gladstone and Victor Streets, Dallas Cairns. 3 Dingerra Crescent, Philip Jane. 3 Dingerra Crescent, Marie Derwent. Also for Dingerra Crescent, Jane Gleeson. And for 3 Dingerra Crescent, Oakley, Eric Tan. As required by the Local Planning Panel Code of Conduct, panel members are required to disclose any conflicts of interest in respect of any matter on the agenda for a panel meeting. The relevant forms as prescribed by the New South Wales Department of Planning have been completed and a table for council to be included in the online minutes of the meeting. No panel member has disclosed any conflict of interest on any matter on today's agenda. The panel have received completed assessment reports from council staff for the 4 development applications. The panel has undertaken inspections of the area and nearby locality for the 4 matters on the agenda today. We will deal with each application in order as published on council's website, being DA 2025-0575, 3 to 5 Hampton Road, Carlton, demolition and construction. DA 2025-0567, 5 Mona Road, Alawa, demolition works and construction of co-living and boarding house. DA 2025-0443, 2 to 4 Gladstone and 10 Victor Streets, Cogra, demolition works and construction of 14 mixed-use development comprising infill affordable shop-top housing, 5 units, a shop and co-living housing. Now I'll make a note just at this point to say that all of these 3 matters that I've just mentioned for Hampton Court Road, Mona Road and Gladstone and Victor are all with the Land and Environment Court at the present time. So notwithstanding the decisions that this panel makes today as representatives of the council, that the ultimate decision on these matters will be determined by a commissioner in the Land and Environment Court. So we're operating as sort of 2 separate authorities, but the matters are currently with the court and they will be because they're still in progress, they will be the final, they will be finally determined by the court. The 4th item, 3 Dingerra Crescent, Oakley, alterations and additions to a dwelling house at DA 2025-0596 will be determining all applications, but this is coming only to this panel. As we progress through the matters on the agenda, only those persons who have registered to speak will verbally be able to make representations to the panel. Each person who has registered to speak is requested to limit their presentation to 3 minutes. I would ask those persons who have been invited to the panel via Teams and that they speak clearly and of a volume that will project into the speakers to assist those viewing the live streaming so that they can hear clearly what is being said. To manage the live streaming process, all speakers should leave their camera and microphone turned off until their turn to speak is called. At this time, I remind those persons that any defamatory, discriminatory, or offensive language used may result in the author being exposed to liability for which counsel and the panel take no responsibility. Once we've heard all the oral submissions on a particular application, we will move on to the next application. Members of the public are free to continue to listen to the broadcast. The determination of the application will be made in a closed session, which is not live streamed or recorded. The determination will be available on Council's website once confirmed by the panel, and usually within 2 to 3 days of the meeting being held. We'll now call the first item, which is DA 2025-0575 3-5 Hampton Road, Carlton. And I have the first speaker or submitter in this matter is Leisha Pryor. You may wish to come forward and just press the button to speak.
Thank you. It's P-A-Y-O-R. I speak as a resident of Kogarah Bay and as a former Kogarah Bay Ward councillor contacted by residents deeply concerned about this proposal. I will not repeat what I believe are at least 11 more grounds of non-compliance set out in my written submission, which could add to the 13 reasons for refusal in Council's assessment report that have been documented with care. I accept the panel has read them.
Yes,
I believe any one of these grounds and the clause 6.9 jurisdictional failure stands out is sufficient to refuse the application. I support co-living as a housing typology. Done well, it answers a real and growing need. Good co-living provides genuine indoor and outdoor communal space where residents can actually socialise. Good co-living offers a mix of room types, including as accessible and adaptable rooms in keeping with the diversity objective of SEP Housing 2021. Good co-living staffs its premises 24 hours a day when it houses over 100 residents. Good co-living respects building separation distances so neighbours retain their winter sunlight and solar access, and good co-living provides storage and bicycle parking proportionate to occupancy. This proposal does none of those things. What I want to ask on behalf of the 44 submitters is, how did this application get this far? And yet this proposal passed through pre-DA advice, it was accepted at lodgement, it was notified to neighbours, it is listed as a Class 1 appeal before a Commissioner of the Land and Environment Court next Wednesday. And it sits before the panel on the strength of a council assessment that recommends refusal. Each one of those stages is a checkpoint. Each one was passed, and at each one the community absorbed more stress, more uncertainty and more cost for an application the applicant has demonstrably not finished preparing. I do not say that to assign blame, I say it because the Land and Environment Court has been clear in Georges River Council versus Escanda, which is online everywhere. The deferred conditions cannot cure 6.9 deficiencies at determination. If the court will not accept that approach next week, the intake processes should not accept it months earlier. So I respectfully ask the panel to do 2 things. First, refuse this application on every ground identified by council staff, not just the strongest one. A multi-ground refusal narrows the applicant's room to amend on appeal, signals to the Commissioner next week that the deficiencies are structural rather than cosmetic, and protects the community from the tweak and resubmit cycle that drains residents of the energy to keep objecting. Second, use the panel's advisory voice to recommend 4 practical reforms to Council. I offer these not as a criticism to staff who have done their job well, but as 6 system-level fixes within Council's own administrative power. 1, we need a clause 6.9 sign-off at lodgement. Any DA over 50 residents or seeking height or FSRS variations should require written confirmation from Sydney Water, Ausgrid and Council stormwater engineers before the application is accepted, not before it's determined. 2, a co-living specific lodgement schedule. Co-living is a new regime and our LGA is among the first to test it. Council should publish a mandatory schedule of items, solder diagrams, communal space calculations, DCP rates, waste figures, accessible room counts, planned management with hours of staffing required at lodgement. Missing items mean the application is returned, not notified. 3, a pre-notification completeness review. Neighbour notification should not commence until a council plan has signed off that the application is capable of determination. 44 residents wrote submissions to this DA. Their time matters. Notifying an incomplete application wastes it. 4, quarterly transparency reporting to this panel. Council should report each quarter on how many DAs were lodged incomplete, how many proceed to notification with unresolved service issues, and how many reached appeal in that condition. The panel cannot fix what it can't see. So this is not opposition to co-living, it is opposition to bad co-living being approved as the precedent for the rest of the LGA. The residents who have made submissions are not opposed to housing growth. They are opposed to the wrong housing on the wrong site, on the wrong evidentiary foundation. They are asking the panel to hold the line on what good co-living looks like, on what a complete application looks like, and what a defensible refusal looks like. I'm asking the panel to refuse this application in a way that is appeal resistant, and to use your voice to make sure residents in the Georges River LGA are not put through the same process for the same avoidable reasons. Thank you.
Councillors, do you have any questions or comments? No, thank you very much. The next speaker will be Regina Hartley, also on, this is for 5 Mona Street, Allawah. We're now going on to 5 Mona Street, Allawah, 2025-0567.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity, and I suspect hi, can you see me? Hi, can I confirm that you can see me and hear me?
Yes, we can, and I apologise. Please proceed. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm. I suspect we're in a similar situation to the previous speaker, where we have a very oversized cohabitation application that's been submitted. The development itself is actually oversized, so significantly larger than is applicable for the lot size, and it's actually over the acceptable height. Conscious that I only have 3 minutes, and I have submitted a letter directly to the council which outlines this. So the height of the building is actually going to be directly overshadowing our property, to the extent where at the significant times in winter between 9 AM and 3 PM in midwinter will be 100% in shadow and won't actually have any direct sunlight. I live in, this development is for 5 Mona Street. I live at 7 Mona Street, so we're significantly impacted by this building. The actual size of the building also is not in keeping with the neighbourhood itself. We have buildings which nothing is currently over 3 stories. It's very family oriented. I appreciate there is a need for co-housing, and I absolutely support more housing. We have a current boarding house at 3 Mona Street, so the precedent has been set for the size and type of these dwellings. So 5 Mona Street is just completely, the current application is completely out of character with the neighbourhood. impacts to us directly as the residents of 7 Mona Street, which are 4 townhouses, which in the plan submitted by the developer had us down as units, but we're actually 4 townhouses there. We'll have significant overshadowing and loss of solar access. So that will actually impact us significantly. There's also the issue of the privacy impacts, the actual living areas and things, and private spaces within the plans themselves. Sort of repeating almost what the previous speaker said, as far as, you know, sort of the quality of the housing, the size of the actual dwellings, like rooms within the dwellings, are really not conducive to quality of life for the people who actually live in there. And given the intensity of occupation, which is, you know, 54 tenancies, we potentially have 2 people per room, so that's, you know, sort of 108 people. There's sort of no screening measures, no mitigation, nothing to alleviate the visual intrusion. There's only 11 car park spaces, and already being sort of a park and ride area for Alloa Station, which is only metres away, we have a significant parking problem already. You know, be here when there's a sporting event on and everyone's up at Alloa Pub, we'll have cars double parked in the street, parked over our driveways. They're just left there because there's literally no parking in this area. So yeah, they just haven't got enough car parking sort of to represent the number of dwellings that they're looking to have. Now, my neighbour from number 2 is actually an engineer, and she's asked me to actually, and she has submitted a written submission to council and to the legal team, and she's talked about the geology and saying the plot sits on a low soil level strength of Ashfield shale, and she's concerned that it'll not be able to bear the weight or the excavation, and that's a dangerous dig, which, considering the steepness of the site, there's concern, you know, with cracking and things like that, and moving, like impacting the buildings adjacent. Also, she's flagged the room size and the increased height sets, you know, sort of, this all sets a bad precedent for development in the area moving forward as well. There's also going to be a significant impact as far as, like, you know, the additional garbage trucks, all this sort of stuff on the streets. We already have, you know, a lot of units in the street, so it's going to have, you know, sort of very impact as far as, like, just the general infrastructure as day-to-day operations for how this small street will operate. And I think, given I have 3 minutes, I think that's probably my time up.
Thank you. Do I have any questions from the panel? No, there are no questions. Thank you very much for your submission.
Thank you.
We also, now we're on moving to DA 2025-0443, 2-4 Gladstone and 10 Victor Streets, Cogra, for demolition and construction again of a co-living housing development, etc. So we have in-person speaker Dallas Cairns, I believe, for 2-4 Gladstone Street.
Button. You can hear me now? Yes, my name is Dallas Cairns, and I'm the co-owner and long-term resident of 6-8 Victor Street, Cogra. I will refer to my property as the heritage item. This property directly joins the development site DA 2025-0443 at the northeast boundary. As my property is heritage listed, the structural integrity of the heritage item will be severely impacted by the construction of a 14-storey building with a basement within 1.74 metres of a common boundary. Due to the extensive vibration associated with such construction works, this can cause cracks and destabilise foundations. Studies have shown that vibrations from large-scale construction projects within close proximity can lead to significant cracking, settlement and weakening of heritage structures, placing their longevity and safety at serious risk. Heritage guidelines state that any construction within 2 metres of a heritage building will impact its structural integrity. Setbacks are normally between 10 to 12 metres and not 1.74 metres as proposed by the DA. A basement constructed within 1.74 metres of a common boundary. Because of the inadequate setbacks, I believe that setbacks are to help protect the privacy, sunlight and open space of neighbouring properties and to ensure that new developments do not encroach excessively on existing properties. The proposed DA will severely compromise my private open spaces, particularly my swimming pool area. 11 individual balconies address my property at the rear, and 2 open balconies at the lower level are constructed within 2.7 metres of the common boundary. The remaining 9 balconies are set back at 6 metres. There would be constant visibility from multiple vantage points into my pool area, making it impossible to enjoy this space and undermining my sense of safety, all detrimental to my amenity, health and sense of security. Because I do have heritage listed property, I've suffered from vandalism and I've been a victim of crime. All acts of vandalism to the heritage item have been reported to the police. After a break-in during September 2018, when restoration work was commenced, the heritage item was severely vandalised and most supporting structures destroyed. This year, in 2026, the heritage item was again vandalised by an attempted break-in causing damage, followed by the heritage item being egged. In Australia, egging a house is classified as an act of criminal damage punishable by law. No other properties in Victor Street sustained any damage. I also would like to discuss the social impact assessment that was prepared by Sarah George, and I refer to a clause in that particular social impact assessment. It read, "As can be observed, the crime rates in the suburb of Kogarah are in some instances greater than that in the broader LGA. That statistic is of great concern, as I know firsthand after being a victim of the following crimes: break and entry, extensive damage, vandalism to a heritage item, theft, robbery and assault." I've lived in Kogarah for 69 years, so you can understand how living in Victor Street, I've witnessed everything. Now, the excessive size of this proposed DA in terms of height, scale, bulk, inadequate setbacks, structural risks to a heritage listed property, compromised privacy, increased noise, traffic and parking issues are detrimental to both community and environmental standards. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. No questions from the panel, and we appreciate your submission. Thank you. We are now moving to the final item, which is DA 2025-0596, 3 Dingerra Crescent, Oatley, for alterations and additions to a dwelling house. So we have the first speaker, I think it's Philip Jiang, who can come forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and panel members. My name is Philip Jiang and I live at 1 Dingerra Crescent with my parents and my younger sister. We've lived there for most of our lives and grown up in this home and this neighbourhood. That connection to the community matters to us. Now, I would like to talk about the DA report that talks about the impact on views in clause 3.8. View impacts. The report states that the view loss will be minor to negligible, but I need to tell you what that actually means to our family, our neighbours, and to the public. The report claims the height variation will not interrupt established street level sightlines towards the waterfront. I respectfully challenge this. The proposal adds an additional flaw, eliminating the cascaded design and creating a more solid mass that doesn't fit the current street's character. I live here. I walk Dingerra Crescent every day. I see my neighbours doing the same thing. We all pause to look at the water, the trees, the natural landscapes. That view is part of why we chose to live there and why we stayed here. But this proposal removes the cascaded roof lines and places a larger, incompatible barrier directly between us and what we see. The building will block the waterfront views and the trees that frame this street. We will lose that connection to nature that we've cherished. This is not a minor change. It fundamentally alters what people see when they use the public street, disconnects them from the natural environment, and breaks the visual continuity of Dingerra Crescent. Our neighbours and the community will all feel this impact. The report's assessment that this won't interrupt established streetlight sightlines fails to account for how incompatible this more solid blocking mass is with the current streetscape. This isn't subjective. It's about whether a development fits with the neighbourhood it's in. The plan of control exists for a reason. It protects neighbourhood characters and those critical public sightlines towards the waterfront and natural environment for all of us. This proposal undermines that protection and creates a precedent that weakens the controls meant to protect all residents and our community. I respectfully ask you to reject this development as it stands and protect what matters to our families, our neighbours, and our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the panel? No, thank you. The next submitter on 3 Dingerra is Marie Derwent, I believe.
I provided a picture from the river. I asked people to have a look at. Great, fantastic. I thank the panel for allowing me to talk today. I have lived at number 7 Dingerra Crescent for nearly 50 years. My husband grew up in the area and worked at Neverfell Bay, and we know the local area well. He well remembers when the homes at numbers 2, 3 and 4 Dingerra Crescent were built in the mid-1960s. They were all very high and presented a blight on the landscape then and still do. We were dismayed by this proposal to increase the height of an already high 4-storey building and really thought council would not approve it. This proposed development is so in excess of the well-established height guidelines that we ask the interest of the developers should prevail over community values and height limits that council recognise. If approved, the height of the building at number 3 will be increased from less than 12.5 metres to 15.25 metres. Why should an additional 2.8 metres be imposed upon our community? This development will have significant impact on the views available to the public from the Georges River, Neverfell Bay, Foreshore Walkway at Neverfell Bay, the Como to Oatley pedestrian track, and from Como Marina. The existing height is already over the limit, and the proposal will push it well beyond what is deemed to be fair or reasonable. Fair or reasonable. How will this development impact other potential applications by setting such a precedent? My questions are, firstly, if use from very popular waterways and reserves will be impacted by an individual development, shouldn't planning approvals be aimed at enhancing the amenity rather than allowing further deterioration? Council's own planning strategies highlight how aesthetic values of undisturbed riparian land are much greater than those of developed areas. but there must be scales to set limits just how far development can impact our community. Secondly, panel, isn't it time to ensure the line drawn in the sand by the LEP and associated guidelines under the planning laws is protected and these policies upheld? Thirdly, are planning guidelines so flexible or powerless that broader community interest should always be put second to the interests of one individual development? Thank you for your time. Houston, I think we have a problem.
Thank you. I don't think we have any questions from the panel on that one. So we now have Jane Gleeson on the same item. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Jane Gleeson. I reside with my family at 78 Algernon Street, where we have lived for the past 20 years. Our home sits at the rear of long-term residents of One Dinjarra, present, Helen Wang and Stephen Jiang. I wish to express my concerns at the proposed height increase of the fourth floor garage of 3 Dinjarra, with the intent of adding a fifth floor to this single dwelling home. Clause 4.63 A and B on page 20 state that equitable view sharing is achieved and that this development will, quote, minimise disruption to views for Helen and Steve. The proposed DA also claims that One Dinjarra will only experience, quote, minor view loss and that minor views will be obstructed, reference clause 3.8, page 24. I would like to discuss those two very important words that are featured throughout this DA, being minor and equitable. Minor is defined by Webster Dictionary as a thing of comparative unimportance. Equitable, treating everyone equally and fairly. Both terms need to be weighed up in light of the realities of the properties of 1 and 3 Dinjarra Crescent. 3 Dinjarra is a street to waterfront block of 1,031 square metres. 1 Dinjarra, a roadside block of 609 square metres. 3 Dinjarra is a 4-level home which currently enjoys expansive, uninterrupted water views on every level. 1 Dinjarra is a modest 2-level home with narrow, distant, interrupted views visible on one level only. The narrow view of the tidal inlet in Neverfail Bay is the small luxury afforded to Helen and Steve, and this is the, quote, minor view that will be lost if the development is passed as is. When compared to the expansive views of 3 Dinjarra, it is not surprising that this little view of Helen and Steve's is regarded by developers as, quote, comparatively unimportant. But as humble as it is of great value to the Jiang family. Minor in some eyes, but of immense importance to others. Inequitable view sharing should therefore be glaringly obvious given the above comparisons. 1 Dinjarra will lose all of their immediate foreshore view, I estimate it to be a quarter, while 3 Dinjarra will gain yet more views, more features without any inconvenience, and of course ultimately the value of their property will be greatly increased. Helen and Steve, on the other hand, will experience a devaluation of their dwelling as a result of their diminished outlook. This treatment of a long-standing local family is far from equal or fair. I truly hope that members of the council can recognise this authentic disparity. Accepting this DA will convey to others that Oakley is still a community committed to social cohesion, fairness and inclusivity. Finally, I would also like to see clarification as to whether solar panelling, TV aerial, satellite dishes or other devices will be fitted to the roof of 3 Dinjarra. These would again significantly and further impede the dwindling view from 1 Dinjarra Crescent. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I just, while you're there, are you, with this photo, are you the house behind the house opposite?
I guess we are. Yes, I can't see.
You're above the
Yes,
the house opposite.
We do. I would say we do have a minor loss of view. I would equate our loss of view. So I'm not complaining about our loss of view.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to see your context with your neighbour.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks very much.
And we have no loss of view. But that's not the issue. We're a community.
Then we have the final solicitor agreement there. This is the sole for the house, the
Thank you for everyone for their time, including the panel members and our speakers. I'm Eric Tran, and I'm speaking on behalf of my grandparents, who are 82 and 84, the owners of 3 Dingerra Crescent. We are in support of the application as outlined in Council's DA assessment. Our main concern is ensuring safety and practical access to the site, particularly for the elderly. Currently, there is no site access to the building without using stairs, and there is only internal staircases within the property. The addition of the lift access and accessible lift landing to the top floor has been proposed to better suit the elderly and any persons for that matter. We acknowledge the steeply sloping site, nature of the site, and with the addition of the topmost level with direct street to lift access, it will allow less abled individuals to move more indiscriminately. The main aim of the design supports accessible forward approach, improving accessibility, usability, and amenity. The project also aims to improve overall residential amenity to neighbouring properties and surrounding landscapes. Native plant regeneration is also proposed to better landscape the site for improved biodiversity. The addition of the green roof also aims to reduce the impression of the building and further the building into the landscape. The addition of balcony planter boxes also aims to reduce mass and visual bulk per floor and aim to blend into the landscape further. If the panel has any further questions, please let me know.
Any questions from the panel? No, we don't have any questions. Thank you. And that was very clear. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you to all our speakers. We will now close the meeting formally, and we will go into a closed session and consider the applications before us and the submissions that we've received. So thank you for your attendance today. Thank you.